10, 9, 8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Tuned into the motherfucking tracks, man. We taking over, 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 we taking over.
Hey everyone, it's Darian Smith here with the Am I Allowed to Like Anything podcast. This week's guest is Danyel Smith, and it's really important that I give her a proper, amazing introduction because she deserves it. So Danyel is a journalist, music critic, novelist, and editor from California. She's interviewed music's most influential artists and covered hip-hop before it was an acceptable mainstream genre of music, truly. She's widely known for her position as former editor-in-chief of Vibe and held positions at Billboard, Time Inc., and she's written for the New York Times, Essence, Ebony, The New Yorker, The Village Voice, NPR. I mean, I could go on. She really is that epic. So Danyel's most recent project is Hardcover, which she co-founded with her husband, Elliott Wilson, and that's how we got to know each other. She's currently teaching at Syracuse University in New York City and working on her third book, She Is Every Woman, a history of Black women in pop music. She's also my friend and a huge inspiration for this podcast, so I'm really honored to have her on for this 10th episode. Remember, you can subscribe to Am I Allowed to Like Anything on iTunes, and always tweet me at Darian Simone Harvin with your reactions. This is kind of a wild one, so enjoy and let me know what you think. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking, but you tell me if it's true. The next time that, or when this episode is released, there might be hardcovers at your, like you might have a position of hardcovers.
Yes.
Lessons learned from creating hardcover.
Some things are easier than you think they're going to be, and some things are harder than you think they're going to be, and hardcover was harder than I thought it was going to be. At every single solitary stage. The only thing that wasn't hard was working with the team, because the team was amazing, and that was surprisingly, after some initial bumps, I think super easy, because everyone just loved the idea of hardcover and the spirit of hardcover and the idea of it. So working with you, working with all the hardcover fellows, working with the hardcover interns that you pulled together, working with Elliott always has its challenges, but it was still good. And, working with the design team. But it was really hard, actually, to, if I'm really honest, some days to really, I think if you're someone, let's say my generation or my age, you're very used to working for someone. I'm very used to working for someone. And I think I've always been very self-motivated on behalf of someone else's brand.
Yes.
And I think some days it was very difficult for me to get motivated on behalf of my own brand. It was very, I had to really manage that. And I had to remind myself, honestly, that what I create is as important as what I've ever created that was someone else's. It was a real turning point for me.
Wow, that's interesting, because I feel like I'm the opposite, where I am constantly thinking about, well, how can I take this Darian brand and people don't even look at me and think brand. Like, to me, that's like not, it's not about the word brand. It's kind of like going beyond that to just like creating things where it's like what you do and who you are, people enjoy it, and whatever is a part of your brand is like you are giving something new and fresh to people, right? For me, it's like that is, because for me, I'm like, if not me,
then who?
And when?
Well, I think that's different, like I said, because I spent so many years working for other brands,
exactly.
Whether it was Billboard, whether it was Vibe, whether it was Time Inc., whether it was whoever I was writing for. We just come from different times, and I think both, have their pluses and have their minuses, but I definitely think I kind of figured it out. And I also think in terms of, I guess, you can't think of yourself, well, what's your personal brand and all that kind of stuff. And I think at the end of the day, the basis of mine, or what has always been kind of the soul of whatever the Danyel Smith brand is my byline. Like what I've written or what I've edited.
Right. What do you always tell me is by your byline?
Yes.
Do you want it to be under your
yes.
byline?
Do you want your name by that? Like,
yeah.
that's my thing. So I think that's how I really started thinking about it, because in the books that I've written in the past, that's how I would motivate myself to get finished with those books, is that, it's my name. It's my name at the end of the day.
Right.
So for More Like Wrestling and for Bliss, it was like, it's my name. So.
And I actually want to talk about two things that I felt like I really learned during hardcover.
Do.
So the first one, working with our team, for me was a blessing because of what I learned. And I loved the fact that there was so little ego between everyone.
That's true.
Like, that to me is why I kind of go into spaces and I'm like, why aren't they allowed to sit in that meeting? Why aren't they allowed to speak?
Always been that way.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like, this was so refreshing and so rare, because that does
rare.
not occur.
It doesn't. You're not the first person who's worked with me that's told me that they feel that way about the spaces that I'm, leading in one way or another.
Right. Like, I felt like everybody's word was worth gold.
And it is.
And I love that. I loved that I was able to, like, connect the interns or the fellows with an editor, or with Ben, or with Eric or with Kristen to help with their research.
Yes.
And it was like everyone was putting out excellent work.
I mean, everyone wasn't. There has to be, I guess, a certain type of hierarchy in terms of, like, who's actually responsible for, paying the rent at the office space, and who's buying the, paper and the fonts and all those things. But I think in terms of sitting around and actually building something, creating something, everybody's ideas matter. I ran Vibe like that, and I tried to run hardcover like that, so I'm happy to hear you say that.
Yeah.
There's somebody that I used to work with at Vibe, somebody that is a good girlfriend of mine whose name shall not be mentioned. You know her as well, though. And when she left Vibe and went to work at another publication, she was, she was a junior staffer.
Right.
But they were invited to meetings, but she didn't realize until she spoke up in the meeting, in an editorial meeting, and everyone just kind of looked at her like, oh my God, are you speaking?
Right.
And then afterwards, like, her team leader came over and said, that is not appropriate. Like, you won't be asked back to meetings and she said she was just like, oh my God, but working for Danyel is just like, normal. Everybody, the interns can speak to the editor-in-chief, like, I don't think that's a good idea. Or I think we should choose that cover over that cover. I just believe in running things like that. I really think that, you know how I feel about the new everyone. So I feel that way I feel that way about race, about religion, about country of origin, about whatever your sexual identity is. I feel that way about status at places of business. I feel that interns have as much to contribute. I just do.
And I often feel, like you'll go on Twitter and you'll see something that goes viral because it's so blatantly just wrong or horrible or like racist or just not well put. And I could look at that and be like, wasn't no young person in the room, wasn't no person of color in the room. There was no and it's just mind blowing because the structure that we put up is almost like it ended up hurting you.
I have my hands over my face right now because I'm like, when I see that stuff, I'm just like,
it's like you couldn't invite one. Okay.
Yeah, it's bad. Maybe it's getting better. I think in some places it really is getting better, but I think you just still see. And not just at the legacy organizations, but also at the more recent startups, you see that there's just a disconnect between who's in the building and who they're serving, or who they're purportedly serving.
The second thing I learned was more of an appreciation and more thought put into gratitude, which is something I definitely learned from you, because I feel like I was like thankful and very nice before, but I really learned the importance of showing, or even if it's through email, people that you appreciate them, even when you're in a really bad mood.
Yeah, girl, because I stay in a bad mood and I still believe in gratitude.
Yeah, like I know, and it wasn't until a couple weeks ago where you were like, yeah, Darian, I don't really like everyone.
Yes, I don't. I remember. I know sometimes I do have to tell people that because people think. I mean, I don't think everyone thinks I'm nice, but I think a lot of people think I'm nice. But in reality, I don't like everyone, but that doesn't mean that I can't be polite or grateful.
See, but that's wild to me because I've only known you to be nice. So when I talk to people, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so nice. Like, just email her.
I do believe that, that we just should be thankful for things. And I think also when I was at school just recently at Stanford, one of the things we talked about in terms of, frankly, strategic communication was leading with gratitude.
This is a great transition because what I have in here is talking about Stanford and some of the leadership skills that you brought there and some of them that you learned, because people don't really ask you about that. And you talk about your time at Stanford and even some things that you've gone to after that that I feel like have even shaped you after you've been editor-in-chief of Vibe, after you've had all these amazing bylines.
Well, I think one, I just believe in education. I think it comes, I teach and all those things. I teach at Syracuse University now. I think because I dropped out of college and didn't finish my degrees until I was
I think that's it, because we don't have this same appreciation for like classrooms and colleges and schools and stuff. So continue.
I like that little patronizing tap on the leg though. That's Philly jamming right there. No. But no, so I just feel like there's always something to learn and always something to teach, frankly. So when I was at Stanford, it was just an incredible experience. It was the John S. Knight Journalism Fellowship. They choose 21 people a year, people that they think are outstanding and people they think are going to give back to the profession. And I had the time of my life. The hardcover came out of that year. Yeah. The creative spaces that I was in, whether it was at the Stanford Design School, the D School, whether it was at the Graduate School of Business, which I was super intimidated to set foot on, and then by the end of the quarter, I was feeling like, "Hey, this is my spot."
I'm a little part of B School, low key.
Right, exactly. I thought it was so amazing, but I just, it was just about innovation. It was about creativity. It was about transition. It was about reinvention. It was about taking classes, like I said, in product design, taking classes in art history, it's about meeting journalists from all over the world. I just gained a new sort of, I think, appreciation for maintaining relationships and particularly maintaining global relationships. Yes. Like when I think about the friends that I have now in China, when I think of the friends now I have in right along the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. I mean, it's just, in Australia and
it's really it's just important. It's really important to have.
But I don't think I valued it. I always remember too. Do you remember? I don't know if you guys did this. You went to Emerson.
Yes.
You guys were a much cooler school than I went to Cal, and I just remember we sort of acted like the international students were the like herbs, but they're actually like the coolest students.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know what? Sometimes I actually feel like there's that stigma. So I went to Emerson, but Boston is a huge college town. So it's like sometimes things get a little mixed when you're at parties. Like you don't really know what school people. You could be you could be at a frat house at Harvard or like a fake frat house at Harvard, and like there are gonna be other people there from other schools because that's just how it works.
There's like a billion schools there.
Yeah, but I do sometimes feel like there's this stigma that international kids are just there because they're like super smart and rightfully so, but we're all there for a reason and we should all actually just be trying to get to know one another.
And people just stay in their own little silos. It's incredible. Stanford's such an international campus. My program was a really international program, and the students that I have at Syracuse I have international students, so it's especially students from China, and it's just always an eye-opening experience. But yeah, I wouldn't trade that experience at Stanford for the world. Sometimes I think, I don't know, I just always want to learn more. I always feel like I don't like a feeling of being behind. I don't like a feeling of not being a part of the world and its changes. And I feel like when you go someplace like Stanford or when you spend time at a place like Syracuse, these aren't perfect institutions for a lot of reasons, but I feel like you can find the spaces that where they really feed you and support you and teach you. I had never taken a class in strategic communication. I had never taken a class in the history of design schools. And it was amazing to me when I got into that class how much I already knew just because of the career that I've been having. And it just was amazing.
Can you think back to an activity that you did in any of your classes or any workshop that you'll like never forget, that you felt like was very maybe Stanford-y?
Well, what's funny is I can, and it didn't have anything to do with journalism. I took a class in improvisation, and it was really hard for me at first because I'm not a person that basically likes to get out there and act a fool, which is a lot of what improvisation is. So,
well, New York, trains you to be that way, I feel.
Man, but we had to do these scenes at the end, right? You had to have a scene partner, and I had this young woman named Natalie was my scene partner, and we did like a really intense scene from this British play from the 1970s, and then on the last day, just like in any school, you had to perform it in front of people. You had to memorize it and perform it. And you had been coached for like the last 3 weeks of class in doing it. And so, of course, Elliott came too, so I was really nervous. I was so nervous.
You told him to come. You were like, this is my performance.
Exactly.
Please book your ticket.
And do you know who was there too, though? Was Andrew, right? Andrew was there. Andrew Lasowski.
Shout out to Andrew.
Shout out to Andrew on the hardcover board. But what it did for me was the coaching that you received when you're acting. It's so amazing. Like, I had never really taken an acting class, but the way if you have a good improv teacher or acting teacher and they just really break down for you like your tics in your body and what that's showing to other people that you don't even realize it's showing, it's crazy. And then I told you, and in a similar vein, I told you in strategic communication we had to do that weird thing where you just had to stand in front of the class. Just stand there. And just stand there. And then people had to write on index cards what energy you were giving.
And what energy were you giving?
You know, it's awful. I'm embarrassed to say. But it was above it. And like trying. And also
trying.
Yeah, and also look, because at a certain point I had my hands on my hips. And some of that, I think it was just like, you know, the black girl thing that we do. You stand there, you just kind of, sometimes like you just have your hands on your hips, right? Like not, but it was very like hands on hips just reads to a lot of people, I guess, as aggressive. And I'm like, hands on hips is like sassy to me, right?
Yeah, I don't think that aggressive would be the term that I would use for putting your hands on your hips.
But a lot of people stood there with their arms crossed in front of their chest, and that just symbolizes like closed off, and I'm not interested in talking to you. So basically the way I stood was kind of leaning on one hip, either with my hands on my hips or just my hands just kind of on my thighs like this. And I think what I was trying to do, maybe that's why they thought I was trying, is to look around the room. I don't know. But again, these things were just really compelling to me. And even me looking at other people's energy and it just causing you to learn about like how you fill a space and how other people fill a space. It was just amazing. And these are the kind of things that people are talking about and learning about. Yeah.
And also I think that's just also a good testament to like when you are always willing to learn whatever space it's in, look what type of environments it opens you up to. Like you never know where you may end up because you're willing to continue learning.
You don't. And it's amazing. And I think also, you know, so often I tweet out, you know, job opportunities and I tweet out fellowship opportunities and things like that. And I always, you know, try to remind people when I can that the first part of being chosen is the self-selection.
Right. I want this.
Yes. Like, and what people are counting on is that the people that aren't dope aren't going to try. So you essentially make yourself more amazing by applying.
You need to put yourself on.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the people that are quote unquote the gatekeepers or the people that are judging and I've been on selection committees.
Right.
And when people, you do, when you're on the selection committee and you're interviewing people, you do just have respect for the person. You have a baseline respect because they got it together to apply. And do you see what I mean? Yes. That they didn't just see the notice and say, they're probably not going to choose me. Why would I do it? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Who is someone who you maybe met within like the last 5 years or that you've known for longer that you feel is just a great leader or has been somewhat of like a role model for you?
She doesn't like me to mention her name in this way, but I'll do it anyway, and I will say that it's Sylvia Rome. Sylvia Rome, who's, she's in partnership with L.A. Reid over at Epic Records. She's one of the most amazing women that I know. She's one of the most influential people, let alone women, in the music business for the past 30 years. She's a gracious spirit. She's taught me a lot, and I look to her all the time for, advice, guidance, friendship, all those things. So, again, I know Sylvia hates for me to say that about her, but she's a dynamic and amazing
Yeah, we just won't send this to her. It's fine.
No, we won't. But she's amazing. And if you don't know who she is, you should definitely Google her.
It won't be hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else?
Really want to talk about relationships because the people need to hear what you have to say.
Wow.
They do, because we have all these. I'm just going to pose a problem to you, like a Darian problem. And
so we're just going to have a regular conversation then,
yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
What I typically do for everybody out there is I pose my problems to Danyel, and then
I think they're ridiculous, and then...
Yeah, but she doesn't... But the thing is, she doesn't act like they're ridiculous, which is a good... which is very important. She looks at me very seriously. She acts like I'm normal.
You are normal.
I am normal, but... So what do I always complain about?
You complain about, if I'm being honest.
Yes.
A lot of times, not all the time, but you complain about how boys don't know how to act.
Yes.
I think you complain about, well, not so much now because you're doing, you have so many great opportunities on your plate right now.
Yeah, no, I don't care at all.
Right. But I think before you were wondering like what the future held for you, what the near future held for you in terms of your profession. And we've spent time talking about that, right?
Yeah. But I remember something that I said once, and you were like, "That is a deep valley to get out of. You need to not go there." I was like,
"What was that?"
I was like, I said, "I just feel so disgusted by men right now." And she was like, "Darren," you were like, "Darren, you cannot feel that way. That's such a deep valley to climb out of."
I know it. Well, you can feel that way sometimes. Sometimes I feel that way, but I do think it is a deep valley because I feel like, first of all, not everybody's straight. Not everybody wants a man.
Right.
But, and Lord knows, even if you are straight, sometimes they get on your nerves still, obviously. Yeah. But I feel like if you are a woman that wants a man in your life, wants to build a life with a man or get married or have kids or with a man in particular, then it's a deep valley to start believing that because bad things have happened at the hands of one man, then they're always going to happen. And I want to say that I say that from experience. And if I'm frank, I didn't come up in a great situation with a father figure. I've had some great men in my life in terms of relationships, but Lord knows I've been with the wrong man for too long, a number of times in my life. So I'm not saying this like from on high. I'm saying this from experience, and I just feel like this idea that it's fun to sit around and sort of dwell in how terrible men are, if that's what you want. It's just, to me, it's not a space that's cool. Like, it's just not a space that's healthy. I feel like you have to interrogate yourself a little bit about why you feel that way and try to come out of it. I just do, if that's the kind of partnership that you want.
Right. And what I always have to constantly remind myself of, which I actually think is a bit unfair, the men who try to touch me and grab me and speak to me all the time on the street are like
every time you
not
say
the
that,
same
I can't
men.
stand that shit.
And it's like I have to make sure that I am not thinking about those groups of men in the same categories. But it's hard because those are the men who interact with me. Those are the men who are in my face. So it just I can't transfer that to every man who I encounter, even though it's really hard not to.
I know I have to say though, it is a fine line. Like,
oh, it's fine.
It is a fine line because it's like, God, like men can be so terrible. Men you don't know, like just men on the street saying stuff and just pulling their penises out on the train.
Yeah, that's probably why you don't ride the train any longer.
No, well, yeah, I try not to, but yes, the last time that happened to me, I was in Chicago, and it was like, and I have to say, I have no problem riding the train ever. I have a problem riding New York City trains.
Oh, excuse me.
I get on the train in Chicago, I get on the train in California, but no, subways. I've had too many bad experiences.
Really?
Yes, and also I get lost. The whole transferring thing.
Okay.
But in any case, I don't want to sound romantic, but I will say there are guys that are nice to be in partnerships with. Mm-hmm. It's hard to find them, and then there's a matter of managing that relationship. That's also a lot of effort. So it comes down to what you want. It just does. Like and I look at you and I think, Darian is, she's beautiful, she's smart, she's got this great life ahead of her. I know she likes guys and wants to have a partnership with a guy at some point.
Right.
And I just don't want you to start feeling like there's no one out there that's decent.
Yeah, that is what I am trying to work on too.
It's hard though. It's very hard. It's very hard. Sometimes I feel like when I was closer to your age, I would just have to make a commitment to myself, out loud to myself, and say, I'm not going to hate men. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, you kind of have to vocalize it, make it a mindset, make it a lifestyle. I'm not going.
But that doesn't mean I'm not watching you, though.
Right.
Like, it doesn't mean that I'm walking into spaces with some kind of blindfold over my face. Because, I came up as a music critic and going to hip-hop shows and all the time. And in many, many cases, I've been the only woman in the room or one of few women or, at concerts out by myself in the late of night and all that kind of thing. And you have to be careful. You have to be strong. You have to watch people. And you just do. But that doesn't mean you have to start, you still don't have to generalize. I think you still don't. And again, I say I'm not even going to get into the crimes against me because things have happened to me that are not cool. Mm-hmm. Illegal things. Like I've been mugged. I've been.
Have you?
Oh God, in Oakland.
That is literally
I wrote about it a long time ago, but I literally was mugged. I rarely talk about this. It's so awful. I was literally getting off the bus. I was working at a store in San Francisco. I took the train home, and then I got on a bus to get to my apartment. And when I got off the bus, I was crossing this over this freeway overpass, and this guy ran up behind me and put a hood over my head. Oh my God! I know, right? We've never discussed this. I rarely discuss it. It's a long time ago. I was like your age though. I was like your age. The age you are right now, I think.
I'm 24, so yes.
Yeah, I think I was. Yeah, I think I was like 24, 25.
Oh my gosh.
And, oh my God, he put his hand. What's so funny is, I did not believe in the moment that it was happening that it was real. And because I had a friend named James that lived on my block, I think it was just a hope that I had that it was James playing some type of trick on me. But what it helped me was to not be 100% scared. But the person, and it was so awful, he put his arm around my neck and he said, walk with me or I'll shoot you. Oh my God. And so I walked with him, and
You didn't
I
say
couldn't.
anything.
Here's the thing: I could not see. I don't understand how people were driving by me thinking that that was okay, either.
Right.
There's this little hedge of ivy, and he pushed me down in it, and he was trying to like take off my clothes, and I just had a thought that I didn't want this to happen to me, right? And what was lucky for me was these headlights kept going by, and it was distracting him. And I still couldn't see anything. I had this thing over my head. And he said, "We're going for a ride." This was really an insane moment. And he was walking me, I guess, back towards his car, and he got to his car, and I heard him put the gun on the roof of the car. And I just said to myself, excuse my language right now. I thought to myself, this motherfucker's gonna have to shoot me because I'm gone.
Right.
So I literally pulled the thing over my head, and what's crazy is as soon as I pulled it, I realized it was almost like a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And I just ran.
Had you gotten into the car yet?
No, that's the thing. I heard him put the gun on top of the car. So then I was like, he doesn't have it in his hand.
Yeah.
So, and in fairness, I never saw it. That fool could have had a rock. I don't know. But I just ran, and he hollered at me. He hollered at me again that he would shoot me. But my thing was, so am I going to stop running?
Right. Like, you're going to walk back? No.
I started knocking on people's doors. It was like 9:30 at night. Because I remember I had gotten off work at 8, and I was coming from San Francisco to Oakland. And so it was like 9:30, quarter to 10. And somebody opened their door for me. Oh, I didn't even say that. He had tied my hands with this cable. It wasn't even tight. Like, I couldn't get out of it. That's how I could lift my hands up. So I knocked on the door, and when the police came, Lord have mercy. Let me tell you how, there's enough talk about how crazy police are in this world right now. The police were not cool at all. And they saw the cable on my hand, and they said, and I was explaining what happened, and I was like, and I got free, and they were just like, well, that doesn't seem like it was very hard to get free from, or something like that.
Like, they basically didn't believe you.
I don't know I don't know what they thought, but they were not cool. And finally, one of them said, we should call because I guess there's a woman that comes, like a woman police officer that will come if it seems like the person might have been sexually assaulted. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I said that the guy was in some way trying to, then they call her, and she was somewhat cooler. But the two dudes that came on the scene were like, I was looking at them, and I was more mad at that time than scared. Like, I just completely, but my purse was gone. He had my purse.
Yeah.
He had my address, because this was back in the day when you used to carry a checkbook and all that kind of stuff in your purse.
Right.
Or I don't know how we got on this subject, but my whole thing was afterwards, I was really scared for a long time. And to be honest, I still get scared. But I just couldn't let that, make me feel like all dudes are a threat. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And that's so hard, I feel.
It is. It's
because it's like
it's hard.
Something bad has happened to you, but listen, I need you to not feel like everyone is like that. It's like,
I know
that is.
No
I
one
feel
can
like that's
tell
hard.
you that. Like, no one.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anybody's right to tell you that. I feel like I say that to you because it's what I want for you, and I hope it doesn't make you feel like I'm imposing that on you. But I just feel like I am blessed, knock on wood every day.
Yes.
To have a good partnership with my husband. And when I look at you, then I think, I want Darian to have exactly this, in a way. Like this, I just want her to have somebody in her life that's fun, and she can argue with and party with, and try to fix up her apartment with, and create stuff with. I want her to have this. Mm-hmm. So when you say to me, guys are assholes and nasty jerks and this, that, and the other. I mean, the truth is they are. But then there's some that aren't. And some are at 25 and aren't at 30.
Right. Just take some time.
But I will say this, if they're that at 30, they're probably going to stay that way.
Forever.
And now I sound like my great-grandmother, but she told me, what ain't right at 30 ain't going to be right. I hate to sound like Louisiana in the house, but that's what she said. Be careful of the man at 35 that ain't right.
Yeah.
I see the expression on your face right now. You're not looking that hopeful.
I'm not looking that hopeful. I'm digesting everything that you said. It's all good.
I just think you have so much to give. Like,
I do not disagree with you.
I think you have so much to give. It's like, I see you all the time handling everything for yourself.
Remember when we had that conversation in the hardcover office? First of all, I used to love when we
were in the hardcover office together.
Those and I would always like try to force you to come, and then you wouldn't. It was fine.
Yes.
But I remember I was kind of like explaining to you something about money, and I was like, I don't like owing people money, and I don't really like when people give me money, because then I feel like I owe them something, and I don't like the feeling of owing people anything. And you were like, Darian, that's very mature of you. But but you know, we used to always kind of have this talk about men and women, but like both my age, you know, it's like we don't have none of us have the money to go out to these really nice dates that like I somehow expect, right? Even though I don't make that amount of money. And
why you guys expect all that?
Yeah, and it's
in your 20s.
And
why?
It's hard because we're out
too
here.
Too many music videos. Too many Instagrams.
We're living in New York. We're trying to make it, doing whatever we're doing. We're barely making enough to like pay our rent and go to Hennypalooza, right? And it's like now.
First of all, I'm not putting you in that category anymore. I'm sorry. I don't mean to blow up your spot, but I don't.
No, well, I
see you handling your business in a very thorough way and keeping yourself taken care of by yourself, and I really commend you for that and congratulate you for that.
Thank you. It was like I put it in my mind.
I remember when you did.
And I was like, I want to be making this amount of money by the time I'm 27, and I've like surpassed that. So
yes, and so that's what I'm saying.
I think of it differently now.
But I see you managing yourself and handling yourself, and I think to myself, it's great that she's managing this herself and that she's handling it herself. But man, life is hard.
It is hard.
And it's fun to have someone that you're like in business with on an emotional level. Like, and that's kind of what marriage is.
Right. It's like sometimes I just want someone who, when I wake up on Saturdays, it's like we hang out. Like, you know?
Yes. And in fairness, like my whole 30s was, those are my girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Those are my girlfriends. But I will say at a certain point, and you know, at a certain point, I was just like, I think I want to get married. I think it's time. But I made a commitment to that, though. I feel like you have to put stuff in the universe and you have to verbalize it to yourself, and you should tell somebody else. I remember telling my girlfriends, I'm about to make an effort to get married. I think it's time.
Right.
Like, that's what I'm going to do.
And I think that that's important. Mm-hmm. That's very key, deciding what you want.
Yes.
Like, you decided that you wanted to get married, and you got married.
Yes. And it took me, I think, from when I said it to it happening was maybe a little over 2 years. But I was older also, so I think I was older, you know, I was like 37 or something like that when I said it.
The impression that I get during this time is you had to like put yourself out there, like you had to be willing to like go on dates, maybe 2.
And I was not a good dater at all. Like really, I had to I committed myself to this. Go on dates with people that I didn't think that obviously this would be a good match. I had to commit myself also to going on more than one date with someone, because I was a person that said, after the first date, if it didn't seem like there was some kind of magical click, then obviously I didn't need to go out with that person again. But a wise person once told me that you shouldn't always look for that click when you're dating, because a lot of times that click is just a feeling of familiarity. And everything that you're familiar with isn't always good for you.
Right.
So give it an opportunity on the second date to, when people just feel less awkward, and also go on day dates. So there's not this pressure of, so when I take you home now, are we supposed to have sex or not?
Right.
Like sex isn't really going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also, not for nothing, you can have a person that you're having sex with that you're not even considering as a partner. So
right.
You know what
so
I mean?
It's like it's not as urgent as it feels at the moment.
It's not, you know. So, and something else I think is a good idea, at least it worked for me, is Well, one of the reasons I think that Elliott and I even really got together is because early in our relationship, I was teaching out in San Francisco. He came to visit me in San Francisco. So we had to spend 3 days together. Now, I had an apartment, he had a hotel, but we had to figure it out over 3 days. I was like the host. Mm-hmm. Like when somebody comes to visit you. So I'm showing him around San Francisco and blase, blase. But, at a certain point, he was getting on my nerves. I think at a certain point, I felt like he didn't really like me as much as I thought he should, or he thought that. And then I didn't see him for 6 or 8 hours. Just drama. But the thing is, you kind of had to deal with that. Not like sitting at home waiting on somebody to call you. The person's down the street at the hotel.
Yeah.
And they're visiting you from 3,000 miles. So I feel like that 3-day commitment helped. I mean, it wasn't all smooth sailing after that either, but at least we knew we liked each other.
Right.
Which I think is an important thing to find out. Because so much of dating right now, and it always has been, is about showing off. Let me tell you all these great things about myself. No, let me tell you all these great things about myself. Really, how much money are you spending on me? No, how much money am I spending on you? Am I having sex? Are you having sex? What are we going to do?
Yeah. It becomes
so
about the wrong things as opposed to just kind of...
Walk through a bookstore with somebody is a dynamic date.
Okay. Tell me, please.
Go to a carnival with somebody. That is a dynamic date. You will learn everything about a person by going to a carnival with them. Just a local carnival or fair.
Or a picnic.
A picnic. Go somewhere where you have to carry some stuff or win something or play a game.
Right.
Or walk eating food, or where everything is cheap so everybody sees how everybody is with money. It's like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, if me and you were dating, like if we were dating and we went to the carnival together, and then at a certain point you brought me cotton candy and that was like $4, and then by the time we got to the hot dogs, I was like, I got this. Like, we've learned something about each other, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Boom. That is yes. Yes.
Or if you're just waiting on me to buy you the hot dog because I set it off by buying the cotton candy, then I'm looking at you kind of like, all right, you ain't bring no money? Like,
yeah, but that dynamic, I feel, is so important to kind of establish. Because I would totally be the person who's like, oh, like, you bought that for me, thank you so much. Like, I'll buy this for us just because. Yes. Unless he absolutely insists, like, I'm not letting you buy anything, like, you're crazy, then, like, I'll fall back.
But here's the thing, though. But then you've learned that.
Then I've learned that. If you
like that, amazing. And if you don't like that, you know that. But you're not going to really learn that through the simple thing of, like, going to the movies or going to dinner. Mm-hmm. It's so stressy. You need some more outside stimuli.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Dinner is just too much, like... And then are you going to spill something? At the carnival, if you spill something, people expect you to spill something. You're supposed to have, like, snow cone juice on your shirt or whatever. Like, you just are. You get to see if the person knows how to have fun.
Right.
And if you all know how to have fun together, because that's the basis, man. Besides having some values in common, which is important, if you can have fun, it's wild important.
I was just thinking to myself, well, there are no carnivals in New York, but we could go to Coney Island.
Go to Coney. Oh my God.
Love you like EXO, Beyonce. You know what I mean?
Go to Coney Island.
I've never been before. Have you been before?
Yes, because when Parker comes to visit, she loves it.
Okay.
Or go to a baseball game. You know what I mean? Sit outside with somebody where there's a lot of stimulus and where you have to interact with other people and you see how that person is with, like, a stranger sitting next to them at the baseball game. Because if they're acting like an ass or just rude, or if they're the type of guy or the type of person that's like, yo, man, so what you doing here with that Yankee hat on? I thought you was in there. And you're just like, oh, he's cool. He can make friends with anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you want to know.
Right.
That's what you want to know. I know this is going on really long, right?
No, but it's okay because I told myself, even if I wanted to, this conversation's not going to be 30 minutes. My last episode was 36 minutes. 36 minutes. I was very proud of myself.
For the Danyel podcast, Elliott likes to budget 1 hour, and if we go over to like 1 hour and 7 minutes, he's just acting like a crime has been committed.
Well, I just feel like if I could keep it super compact and I can put a lot of punch into that and like manage it more in a way, like I'm not really doing a lot of the shifting your mind and like finding ways to interrupt you to shift it here and make sure we go here to make sure. I'm not really doing that. But if I were to, it was like it would be a lot shorter. Okay, so speaking of shifting, this is a question, probably my favorite question that I ask everybody. What is your dream for hardcover right now? Typically the question I ask is like, what is your dream right now? Like, what do you think about? What keeps you up at night? But I want to know, like, what is your expectation? What is your dream expectation for hardcover?
My dream expectation is one for the party to go off exactly as I would want it to go off, because I think it's not a fake celebration; it's a real celebration.
It's a real celebration.
Almost like a wedding reception or something. It's like a real celebration.
It's like I will be very happy.
Me too.
I'll be like a happy person.
So I want it to come off, but when I think about just the name and the brand and the idea of it itself, I just want it to have an impact. That's what I wanted from the beginning. That's what Elliott has wanted from the beginning. That's what my colleagues at Stanford have wanted for us from the beginning, which is for it to have an impact, for people to see that you can have a truly beautiful, beautifully designed piece of journalism put together by a diverse group of people for the diverse world that we live in. And I think when people see hardcover, they're just going to be really kind of amazed. They're going to know that they're going to see the work that we put in. They're going to see the joy in it. And I just want people to hold it. You know, I want people to hold it in their hands, read it, share it, and talk about it. And I just want it to have an impact.
And what is your dream for your upcoming book?
Oh, my God.
That you're writing?
Well,
doesn't have to be future dream. It could be literally your dream right now.
I would like to be finished with it, but I will tell you this. I never really realized, I mean, I guess I always realized, but maybe I never wanted to really deal with the fact that so little has actually been written about Black women in pop music. And it's kind of criminal. And a large part of me just wants to fix it. Right? But then I realized I need to just tell people stories. And now that I'm doing that, the book is coming together in a really strong way. And it's just amazing to research these women's lives, man, whether it's Stephanie Mills or Kelly Price or Martha Wash or the Dixie Cups, who had a #1 hit in 1964 with Chapel of Love. Everybody knows that song, right? Going to the chapel.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that those are, that's a white group that sang that song, but those are Black women who sang that, Black women from Louisiana. Talking to these people, Marilyn McCoo, Jody Watley, Beyonce, Janet Jackson, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin. All these people are involved in the book in one way or another, and it's coming together. And so I think I want the same as I want for hardcover. I want the book to have impact. I want the book to be of service. And I want, frankly, to have done a good job and to have done some really good writing. I mean, it matters a lot to me. And it just, like when I recently wrote that piece about Bobby Christina.
Yes. And The Guardian.
In The Guardian.
Appeared in The Guardian.
Appeared in The Guardian right before she passed away. And may she rest in peace. It breaks my heart to think about her and her mother. But if anybody reads that piece, then they'll know the type of writing that I'm trying to do, which is I'm trying to tell emotional stories about women's lives, but I'm also trying to be very real about their actual contributions and their actual, just the details of their lives that make up their work. And I feel like so oftentimes Black people, Black women in particular, we don't get that kind of attention paid to the creative work that we do.
Right.
We don't get that type of credit. Like, just to talk about one of your favorites, Beyonce Knowles Carter, sometimes...
Shout out to Beyonce.
Shout out to Beyonce in every way, yes, right? So something not to sound fancy, but when I was in Paris for the show...
Yeah. For the On the Run.
Yeah, it was amazing.
In Paris.
Yeah,
filmed on HBO.
Yes, it was an incredible experience to be there for that. But something that I noticed, and I always notice about Beyonce, I don't think that people just sit up and say, oh my God, Beyonce is just like an amazing creative. And her,
Boom.
Everything from her, like her choreography by itself and just her as a dancer. Like, forget singing, right? Like, forget singing. Like, let's not even sing. Let's just be doing the dances that she's doing when she just had a baby, like, what, 4 years ago? Let's talk about her as just a dancer on this earth. And does anyone talk about that? Does anybody talk, unless they're saying, oh, well, she bit this choreography from this, or she did this or she did that. It's like, she's an amazing dancer. Is anyone really like saying, who are her influences? Let's break it down. What about Beyonce's life as a girl growing up in Houston makes her dance the way she dances? Like, who's doing that?
You know what my dream interview is? To interview Beyonce with the series of questions that's about being an innovator and a creative. Because people don't view her that way, and it really bothers me. So like, when I think to myself, who's my role model? Beyonce is my role model for a lot of reasons, because it's like, you know, people will sit in a stadium and they'll watch her perform, but what I think, I'm like, wow, like, she just pulled it off at Made in America. She like did the dab in X, Y, and Z. But it's like, no, I need to know who helped her to come up with that. Like, who are the choreographers? Like, these like, because I know that she has a hand in everything.
How many? Say that again, please. I know that she has.
I know that she has a hand in everything.
And I just don't think that she gets that kind of credit, or there's not that. You know, there's people that do, you know, year-long interrogations into the careers of certain men and a certain few other women that aren't Black. And I just feel like I want to know, when you think about Michael Jackson, like, one thing that I wrote an obit of Michael Jackson for CNN when he passed away, and something that I talked about was the fact that people don't acknowledge what he did to his body for us as his fans. He killed his body. He damn near broke his back. Like, I want to know, how many hours is Beyonce dancing every day?
All day. 14, like, I don't actually know. But
how is she like, how many hours is she practicing? Like, what is she doing to herself, to her body, to give us everything that she's giving of herself? Well, everybody just wants to talk about it. Is she losing weight or gaining weight, or is her booty this, or is her waist
her
that?
Instagram? And it's like, I know that that's what we have to work with nowadays. It's like, literally, E! News is covering Beyonce's Instagram, covering Kim Kardashian's Instagram. But
I think what people don't talk about is how Beyonce set that all off. And you will probably remember when this happened. Beyonce set this whole thing off when she said there will be no photographers allowed at my live shows. And I'm not saying as a journalist it's great for us in general, but in terms of her story and taking control of it, Beyonce said, it's my narrative and I will run it.
And I'm not.
Y'all will not be taking pictures of me.
Right. Like, I am in control.
And if you guys want to take pictures of me, you know who it'll be? It'll be the kids on their phones who are my fans.
Yeah. Or the one guy from Getty who I love.
Yes, but all this little thing where all the photographers from the local papers and from AP and from everybody, you know, they used to be able to come out for the first 3 songs of any show, right, and just shoot pictures, and then they would leave, right? Beyonce said, oh, no. Not if you're going to be doing me like that. Again, as a journalist, no, it doesn't make me happy. But as a Black woman, it does make me happy to see her controlling her narrative the way she does. I think it's amazing.
I think it's amazing, too. So my dream Beyonce interview is 2 parts. It is us having a very fast, company-esque conversation.
But you could make this happen so easily. Why don't you do it?
It's probably going to happen.
Yes.
But my second one, and this will be funny but also very telling, is I want to get into the dance studio with her, and I want her to teach me.
And if you don't take me,
but what? Like,
I will fight
like,
you.
I just feel like no one asked.
Why do we both have on a great T-shirt today?
I don't know.
I know. Okay, I will fight you.
But that is. Sometimes I feel like that is what she likes and what she deserves, and
yes,
you know, she was on the cover of Flaunt magazine. It's like this. And she likes to do things very differently. Like, instead of doing interviews and stuff like that, right? She put together her own web world, and it's just really interesting and cool.
She's a very smart woman.
Yeah, but But, you know, BB, she keeps her ears to the streets.
Mm-hmm.
She's on Tumblr.
Mm-hmm.
I know it.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it. I feel it. I see it. Feeling myself was like that whole vibe, right? So that's why I loved it.
Yep.
Okay, so have you thought about your plus one?
Which is, what have I been a part of, or who have I talked to, or what is my favorite thing of the last week?
Yeah, week and a half, or just something you appreciate overall.
You know, that's a very interesting question. And it goes to like gratitude also, right? It really goes to gratitude. So what have I really been grateful to? What have I really been grateful for over the last week and a half? I will say that I've been super grateful for the time to work on my book. You know what I'm grateful for and what I've loved? You know, I love being on the train. I really do.
The Amtrak.
I love being on Amtrak. I'm this person, I've taken Amtrak across the country more than once. And I love it. And I just, I've been on the train over the last 2 weeks. I've been back and forth to Virginia twice in the last 2 weeks for work. And I've taken that train from Penn Station to Union Station in D.C. over the last 15 years. Like, I can't even tell you how many times.
Yeah.
It doesn't get old to me. It's so chill. I like this feeling of just moving along. I like looking out of the window. I like crossing over all those lakes and rivers in Maryland. I used to like taking pictures and videos from the window. I don't do that so much anymore, but I like the opportunity of just feeling like I'm away from everything. I can work, look out the window.
There's Wi-Fi. And I could just think. So I'm just grateful for that time, like those, 3 hours there and 3 hours back of like, just to work and think. That's really what I like to do most of all. Probably work, think, and on a good day cook. But you are a phenomenal cook.
You like my food?
Yes, I do. And sometimes I think to myself, I was like, if I could just go over there, maybe like call her, like maybe I can catch the meal. Like I'd be like, I can't even impose on her space like that.
I did Fresh Direct today, so you should come over this week.
Okay,
serious.
But like when you tell me this, you think I'm not gonna come over.
No, I've learned that you shall.
I
know that you will.
When you tell me, you like invite me over, or you say it just to kind of be
nice.
What
did I make you that time? And you were like, what did you do to this broccoli? Or what did we have?
It was like rice or something.
What did you do to this rice? It
was like chicken. It was like you had picked up some stuff from the Korean market.
Yes. That's my spot too.
And
in Koreatown?
It was delicious.
Yeah, people should go there too, just so you know. You don't have to spend a lot of money on groceries.
Right.
Whole Foods. Go to the markets in Koreatown.
I spent like $20 on groceries yesterday.
What'd you get? Don't just say like broccoli and what?
You're not gonna. It was dairy and food. It was like It was like stuff that.
What, like a mango and some yogurt?
Remember when we met at? I think it was like the Crosby Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
That's
the other thing I wish you would tell people, how you steal all my spots. That's what I think you should talk about.
I know that.
You steal my spots. That's a whole other podcast.
I do.
The spot stealing podcast.
I know. It's like you could be anywhere and I might already be there, or I might show up.
She stole all my spots for coffee.
Oh my God.
She stole all my hotel lobby spots. She stole my nail spot.
I did hijack the nail spot. I was there last Monday. I'm sorry.
You hijacked it.
I'm sorry.
I got my nails done at Rita's this week when I got my hair colored, so I'll be back over there though. Mm-hmm.
It is true, but it's upgraded my life. Like, the hotel lobbies have upgraded my life.
Hotel lobbies are the secret jam.
Like,
the secret jam of almost any city.
I was at the Royal... I should not.
Right?
I'm not even going to put... But you know where I was at. You know where I was at. I'm not going to put it on the podcast. The one... we put a lot of things...
Can't put everything out there,
Can't put everything.
We cannot.
But, yes.
So, do you feel like this was a super jamming podcast?
This was a good podcast. What did you think? You have to give me your critique right now.
I have to give you the critique right now. I think it's really good, and I think that you're a good interviewer. I always like your broadcast voice. I think it's very awesome.
Thank you.
I do. I think
that
it's
means
really
a lot
good.
to me.
I always like it, and I think you have, questions that make at least me feel very introspective, and I think it's a science, but I think it's also art and a gift, and so I say yay for you. I love it.
Thank you. I'm always working on my interview skills because I decided that I want, everyone has a beat in journalism. I want my beat to be covering people and interviewing people. Like, when people tell me, your beat could be tech or whatever, or politics, but I want my beat to be...
I like that.
People. And I know that seems so broad or very
though.
General, because all of journalism is about people, but I really it's not. But I really want my focus to be on telling the stories of people. They could be famous, not famous, just people who have a story. Yes. That is where my strength is, honestly, is interviewing people. I'm really...
I mean, I think you did a fantastic job with the interviews you did for Hardcover. I mean, people don't even know. I mean, we haven't even talked about
the Passion
Atlas and all the work that we put in on that. But Darian's work on that and her leadership on that was really incredible. So I think people will see it and know it for, it's just, it has a certain ring of authenticity that we all work really hard on. But you definitely took the forefront on that. And I think people will see your interview skills.
Thank you, Danielle. That means a lot coming from you.
Oh, please.
So thank you, because you don't have to do things like this, but you do them for me, which I appreciate.
Of course. There's no way I wasn't going to do it.
Yes. Well, thank you, Danielle. Now we're signing off.